Our story begins in a world ruled by demons, led by Leonus, the Demon King. One day, 6 heroes rise with a single goal: to end this era of darkness. After destroying every demon castle under Leonus's command, they march toward his final stronghold, the Castle of Death. They cut through his army with overwhelming force, backed by human soldiers who, despite being weaker, are carried by the heroes' power. Even when they fall, they are brought back to life, making the battlefield a nightmare for the demons. With nothing left to stop them, the heroes close in on the castle itself. Inside, Shari, Leonus's loyal maid, warns him that the heroes have already destroyed everything and will soon break through the defenses. She urges him to face them himself. But Blackus, his assistant, a massive black wolf, interferes, warning that fighting now would be suicide. The heroes are far stronger than expected, and the only logical choice is to retreat. Faced with despair, Leonus accepts defeat. He steps down from his throne and descends into a hidden basement as the castle collapses around him, choosing to disappear rather than be defeated. The world celebrates the hero's victory, believing the Demon King is gone forever. But in his final moments, Leonus casts a spell, one that will bring him back to life exactly 1,000 years later, his body hidden beyond anyone's reach. 1,000 years pass. Now we meet Rosoleia and Regina, 2 adventurer girls exploring ancient ruins. During their search, they discover a strange demonic gate, what remains of the Castle of Death. Inside, they find eerie statues and a place filled with mystery. Rosoleia realizes they've entered an ancient tomb, likely belonging to someone powerful. As they explore deeper, they reach a massive sealed door covered in an unreadable language. Rosoleia tries translating it on her phone but fails. While Regina goes off to check the surroundings, Rosoleia touches the door, and suddenly the carvings glow and the door opens on its own. Startled, she draws her gun, but the room appears empty. Then, candles ignite by themselves, guiding her forward. Following the light, she reaches a massive purple crystal, and inside it, a person is trapped. Without hesitation, she fires at the crystal to break it and free whoever is inside. But that single action changes everything. This was the exact moment Leonus was meant to awaken, and her interference disrupts the ritual. The crystal explodes, sending Rosoleia flying across the room. Leonus emerges, but something is wrong. When he approaches her, she looks at him in confusion and asks, "What is a child like you doing here?" Leonus freezes. He looks at his hands, then at his reflection, and is shocked to find himself reduced to a small child. Furious, he realizes her interruption has altered his rebirth. But before he can react, Rosoleia gently picks him up, thinking he's just a lost kid. She reassures him, promising to protect him and get him out safely, even offering him food and water. Leonus, hiding his anger, decides to play along. Pretending to be helpless, he stays by her side, waiting, learning about this new world, and searching for the perfect moment to reclaim his throne once again. As Leonus eats, Rosoleia introduces herself. She's 15 from a nearby island, and training as an adventurer in the assault squad. When she asks about him, he simply says his name is Leonus. She pauses, saying the name sounds familiar, and in that moment, he realizes his legend has survived the centuries. He tells her he's 10 years old, which shocks her, and she wonders how someone so young ended up in a place like this. When he can't answer, she assumes he was kidnapped by something called the Void Monsters. Curious, Leonus asks what they are, and Rosoleia explains they appeared 64 years ago with one goal: to wipe out humanity. In response, humans built the Holy Sword Academy, where students learn to wield magical weapons. She admits she still can't use one and relies on traditional weapons instead. Suddenly, an explosion echoes through the ruins. Rosoleia instantly shields Leonus as a massive ghoul-like creature appears. She fires at it, but her bullets do nothing. Leonus tries to step in and use his power, but his unfamiliar child body betrays him, and he stumbles. Just before the monster can strike, Regina appears and cuts it down with her magical weapon, ordering Rosoleia to take Leonus and run. They rush toward the exit, but their path is blocked by another monster, this time a giant black dragon. Rosoleia pushes Leonus, telling him to escape, but he refuses and prepares to fight. Before he can act, the dragon lunges, and Rosoleia throws herself in front of him, taking the hit. Blood fills the room as she collapses. Leonus rushes to her side, but she's already fading, apologizing for failing to protect him before taking her final breath. Left alone and surrounded by 3 void monsters, Leonus finally unleashes his power. A barrier forms around him, blocking their attacks. He summons his staff and crushes the first monster with gravity magic. The second tries to break through his shield, but Leonus strikes it down, ripping its soul away instantly. The last one attempts to flee, realizing it has no chance, but Leonus chases it down and burns it alive until nothing remains but bones. Returning to Rosoleia, Leonus tries to revive her, only to realize he no longer possesses that ability. With no other choice, he uses forbidden magic, turning her into a vampire. Her wounds begin to heal, and slowly, she opens her glowing red eyes and breathes again. Moments later, her eyes return to normal, and she wakes to find Leonus watching over her. Relieved, she hugs him tightly, grateful he's safe, but soon notices something strange. Her fatal wound is completely gone. Leonus calmly tells her he used his magical weapon to heal her. Just then, Regina arrives and sees the blood on Rosoleia's clothes, rushing to check on her. Rosoleia reassures her, claiming she was badly injured by a void monster, but healed thanks to Leonus. Wasting no time, she urges them to leave before more monsters appear. The three escape the ruins and ride back on Rosoleia's motorcycle. Along the way, Regina introduces herself properly, explaining she grew up as a servant in Rosoleia's family, but is now part of her team, alongside Senpai and Sakuya. She even jokingly suggests Leonus could become their fifth member. After a long journey, Leonus spots a massive island rising from the sea. When he asks about it, Rosoleia explains that humanity now lives across 7 islands like this, strongholds built to protect against the void monsters. As he listens, Leonus is quietly amazed by how much the world has changed over the past 1,000 years. And when they arrive at the island, Rosoleia makes a call and informs the Academy administration that they found a lost child and rescued him. And after that, she goes to Leonus and tells him, "What is required from you now is that you go and do an examination first, and after the examination immediately, you will become a citizen affiliated with the island, and you can join the Academy as well, so that you develop your use of your magical weapon in healing." And Leonus enters the bathroom to prepare for the examination, and while he is in the bathroom he summons his assistants, Shari and Blackus, who suddenly appear from under the ground, and they are surprised by his new form at first. But he tells them a mistake happened in the summoning ritual, which made me be in this form. In addition to that, I lost a large part of my power, but I am still Leonus, the leader of the demons, and I have returned to reclaim my throne once again from the humans. And he continues his words and tells them, "I have learned that humans are now distributed on 7 islands. These islands are artificial and they are the ones who made them, to protect themselves from monsters called void monsters. What is required from you is that you spread in this world, and in the 7 islands, and at this time I will live as if I am a child in this island." So Blackus asks him then what is the goal of our spread in the islands. So he answers him, "So that you gather for me as much information as possible about the power of humans now, and as soon as we know their power, I will be able to summon my demon soldiers, and gather all the equipment that I want in order to conquer the world once again." And Shari and Blackus disappear to begin carrying out Leonus's order. As for him, he goes to do his examination before entering the city, and he is subjected to some tests in this examination to make sure that he is human, and that he does not pose any danger, and he passes it, and they make him an identity card, and with it he becomes an official citizen in the island. And as soon as he receives his identity card, Rosoleia is waiting for him, and she takes the card from him and takes a picture of it with her phone, and tells him, "I have submitted an application for you to join the academy, and tomorrow you will go to do an interview there, before you become a student with us." So he asks her, "And what is this interview supposed to ask about?" And she replies to him, "Nothing, just some questions to test your magical weapon." And after that, Rosoleia offers him that she takes him on a tour in the city to show him the places, and he rides behind her on her motorcycle, and she shows him many places, and among them is the Central Command Tower. This tower is the one that contains all the military information, and Leonus is surprised by its enormity, which is considered much bigger than his castle of death in the past. But while they are wandering in the city, Rosoleia suddenly feels a strong headache. So Leonus asks her if everything is alright, and she replies to him and tells him that since she left the tomb that they were exploring, she has been feeling a strange headache, but she reassures herself, and says, "Surely I will be better after I sleep a little." But their talk is interrupted by the bully student Mozil, who goes to Rosoleia to provoke her, and tells her, "There are traces of blood on your clothes. Surely there was a monster that was going to defeat you easily, because of your weakness and that you do not possess a magical weapon. But Regina saved you at the last moment as usual." So Rosoleia gets angry at him, and tells him it is none of your business. So he replies to her coldly and tells her, "Anyway, my offer is still there, that you leave your team and join my team and my group of servants." And when Leonus looks at his servants, he notices that there is something unnatural about them, as if he is controlling their minds. But Rosoleia holds Leonus's hand, and takes him, and they walk away. And this is something that angers Mozil and makes him grab Rosoleia by her hair, and here immediately Leonus intervenes, and controls Mozil, and makes him kneel on his knee, and approaches him and tells him, "I warn you to try to hurt her again." And as soon as he leaves him, Mozil tries to use his magical weapon on Leonus, but Senpai Rosoleia's friend intervenes, who is one of the team, and threatens him that if he does not leave now, she will report to the government that he was going to use his magical weapon on a human, and this is something forbidden by the government. So Mozil leaves and promises Leonus that he will return to him again. And after he leaves, the headache repeats for Rosoleia once again, and she leans on a tree next to her before she falls. And Senpai goes to advise her that she should go home and rest a little. At that time, Leonus knows the reason for her headache, but he prefers to stay silent and wait for the right time to tell her the truth. And they go to the house where Rosoleia and her team live, and she introduces him to the house, and asks him to wander in it freely, and she will go to sleep and rest a little. And when she wakes up she will continue her talk with him. And the next day, as soon as Rosoleia wakes up, Leonus is standing in front of her, and he decides to confess to her the truth, and what he did to save her, and tells her, in fact, in our fight with the monster, you actually died, and I tried to use resurrection magic but I failed. My new body has not yet gathered all my power, so I turned you into a vampire queen, and you became immortal forever. And you now have tremendous power that you have not yet imagined its extent until now. And I know that you are suffering from a severe headache, and your energy is drained. All of this is because you need to drink some blood. Then your energy will increase once again. So Rosoleia asks him while she does not have the energy to speak, who exactly are you? So he replies to her, I am Leonus the Demon King. I will tell you my story from the beginning. Many centuries ago, I was Leonus the kind young man, who had an extraordinary ability to fight with the sword. And in the past those who saved humanity were called the Six Heroes. And because of my tremendous combat power, they made me their assistant. And one day one of the cities was being attacked by Yulls. And the ghouls at that time were the mortal enemies of humans. And they spread in the city, and began to destroy it and kill the people in it. At that time I was with two of the six heroes, Tiaris and Arakle is the leader of the six heroes, and because of the ghoul attack that swept the city, he decided to use his magic, and drop a lightning strike on the city, killing everyone in it, including the ghouls and the people of the city, and then use resurrection magic and bring the people of the city back to life again. But I objected to the idea of killing the people of the city and drew my sword and stopped his magic. And then I attacked the ghouls, and started killing them one after another, until I killed the last one of them, and saved the city without any of its people dying. And this was something that increased my popularity, and made all the people of the city love me. But this was not pleasing to Arakle, because he found that I opposed him and threatened his power and his position among the people. And because of that he decided to get rid of me, and after days, Arakle sent me on a mission, after a messenger came to us asking for our help, and telling us that his city is being attacked by a large number of ghouls. So I went with him to save them, but while I was with the messenger on the way, he led me into a dead end where there were no ghouls, and it was surrounded by walls from all directions. At that time I felt danger and that I had fallen into a trap. And as soon as I looked behind me, I found that the messenger had disappeared, and suddenly Arakle's mages appeared from above the wall, who used their magic to paralyze my movement, and I could not defend myself. And at the same time, Arakle's soldiers attacked me from everywhere, and bound all my limbs with iron chains, and lifted me up. And when I tried to resist them, I was stabbed by a large number of spears at the same time, and they succeeded in eliminating me, and left me lying taking my last breaths, and the spears filling my body. And just before I died I saw Rosoleia for the first time. And Rosoleia is an ancient sorceress, and one of the enemies of the six heroes, and after she saw their betrayal of me, she decided to save me, and brought me back to life once again. But as Leonus the leader of the demons, not the human Leonus, and I returned to life once again. And this time while I had the motivation of revenge against the humans, whom I used to risk my life to help, and they betrayed me and helped Arakle to kill me, and Rosoleia, and I formed a very strong team, and we were able to defeat all the lords of the world at that time, and take all the treasures and weapons they had, and we ruled the whole world together. And all that time the six heroes were hidden, after they knew about my return to life once again, and my cooperation with Rosoleia. But nothing lasts forever. Rosoleia's time on Earth ends, and she must disappear from the Earth and return again after 1,000 years. But she will reincarnate in another form different from this form. And after Rosoleia left by 15 years, the six heroes appeared again, and they were able to defeat all my allies one after another, until it was my turn when they attacked my castle and defeated all my soldiers. And at that time I decided to bury myself in the crystal that you found me in, and froze my soul for 1,000 years, until Rosoleia would return to life once again. And I search for her and we reunite again, and conquer the world once again. So Rosoleia asks him and tells him, does that mean that Rosoleia is alive now in our world? So he answers her, yes, but I have not found her yet. And he tells her, now, after you knew everything, it is time for me to know everything about you as well. So Rosoleia gathers her strength, and tells him my family are all legendary fighters, and they were able to save humans for long periods from the void monsters. But one day we were subjected to a very violent attack, and a large number of fighters fell as victims. And at their head were my father and mother. And since that time I have been striving to continue the path they started in protecting humans. And I went to the academy to learn how to use my magical weapon. And although I inherited magic genes from my father and mother, I still could not use my magical weapon as well. And I joined the adventurer team to fight many monsters. And battles would speed up my learning process to use my magical weapon. But I still failed. And she looks at Leonus and asks him, since I died, does that mean I will not be able to use my magical weapon at all? But he replies to her and tells her, You are now a vampire queen. You have tremendous power, stronger than any magical weapon. All you need is to train to use it only, and I will help you with that. And after they agree that they will become one team, they go to the academy restaurant so that Leonus eats before he goes to do his interview at the academy. And while they are eating, they meet Sakuya, the last one in Rosoleia's team, and when Leonus gets to know her, he realizes that she is like him in the old world. She has an extraordinary ability in sword fighting, and she tells him about herself, and tells him that she was living in a distant village, and that village was attacked by the void monsters, and the island adventurers were able to find her and save her, and when she grew up and entered the academy, she got to know Rosoleia and joined her team. And their talk is interrupted by the sound of someone calling Leonus's name. So Rosoleia tells him your interview time has come, and he goes with Rosoleia to meet Diglas, who is responsible for his test. And he begins his interview amid the looks of the students while they are watching him, and Diglas asks him to show her his magical weapon, so he takes out the demon staff. And when she asks him about the type of power of this staff, he replies to her that it is multi-abilities, so Diglas activates void monster simulators, and asks him to show his full power on them, and he uses gravity magic to crush them all in the blink of an eye. This is amid looks of amazement from all the audience, and Diglas is surprised and says that she will face him herself, so that she can determine the extent of his power. But at that moment Mozil intervenes, and tells her I can face him with my team, and Leonus agrees and underestimates him and tells him, defeating you will be easier than crushing the simulators a while ago, and Leonus's response angers Mozil, and makes him summon his magical weapon, which is a staff by which he controls people's minds, and through it he can make the rest of his team members summon their weapons as well. And immediately Rosoleia intervenes and says, it is not fair that a full team faces Leonus alone, so Mozil replies to her, this is my magical ability that I control people's minds. They are considered a weapon for me, not my team. So she replies to him, then I will enter the fight with Leonus. And Diglas agrees to this competition, but Mozil sets a condition for Rosoleia to participate, that if he wins against them he controls her mind, and she becomes one of his team as well, and Leonus agrees to this condition. And Rosoleia gets scared and tells him we should not agree to this condition, but he reassures her, and tells her that defeating them is very easy without any doubt, and Rosoleia takes a normal weapon to start the fight. And with Diglas's signal they begin the fight, and one of Mozil's team goes, and tries to use her magical weapon against him, but he uses shadow magic and manages to block her strike, and with the same magic he manages to bind her leg and knock her to the ground. As for Rosoleia, she attacks them using the sword, and she manages to defeat 3 of them one after another, until she reaches Mozil himself. But before she strikes him with the sword, he uses his magical weapon to control her and immobilize her, and tells her, I will go defeat the child first and then come back to you, and he heads towards Leonus with the rest of his team. But they are surprised that Rosoleia gathers her strength, and manages to summon her magical sword for the first time, and she manages to break Mozil's control over her mind, and attacks him and breaks his magical weapon with her sword. And as soon as Mozil's weapon is broken, he completely loses control over his team members, and Rosoleia goes and points her sword at him, so that he declares his surrender immediately, and they announce Leonus's victory and consider him an official student in the academy, and affiliated with Rosoleia's team. And at night, when they go home, Rosoleia thanks Leonus for his help, in that she summons her magical sword, and asks him to tell her all the instructions, by which she will be able to develop her skills as a vampire, and increase her power, and Leonus agrees and promises her that. And after that immediately, they go to celebrate all of them the joining of Leonus to them, and they make a big food feast for Leonus, and also because finally, Rosoleia was able to summon her magical weapon, and while they are sitting Leonus gets a question in his mind about Senpai's power, and he asks her what is your magical weapon that you can use, so she tells him I have magical eyes, with them I can collect data, and she offers him to take him to her room and do a session with him to show him her power in it. And indeed Leonus goes with her, and she takes out her magical eyes and makes them revolve around him, and tells him this is my magical weapon. Eyes that I can spread and know information of the city accurately. That is why my job with the academy is in the data collection department. So Leonus is surprised and tells her this is a strange magical weapon, unlike the rest of the weapons that I saw with the adventurers, which all help in defense and attack. So she replies to him, I used to have a fire sword that I used in combat. But in one of the missions that I was in with my old friends, I was subjected to a violent attack, and I saw my friends dying in front of my eyes. And after that incident my magical weapon changed by itself and turned into magical eyes, and I joined Rosoleia's team. And when Senpai finishes her words, Leonus notices a map on one of the screens in front of her, so he asks her that he needs a map like this, so she gives him a tablet and adds the map to it. And when Leonus goes to his room, he notices that on the map, the hotspots of the void monsters all were places of wars in the past, and thus he explained that the basement of the Castle of Death in which he imprisoned himself, had many void monsters, and he takes advantage that he is alone and summons Blackus, and asks him about all the information that he was able to collect. So he replies to him that he learned that under every island, there is a huge power station, and these stations are what generate energy for the whole island. And when Blackus finishes his words, Leonus orders him to go complete his research, and summons Shari to ask her about what she learned. And she tells him that she learned that his story as the leader of the demons has been completely buried, and no one knows anything about it in the modern world, as if the leader of the demons never existed at all. And the next day, as soon as Leonus wakes up from his sleep, he feels pain in his neck, and finds that Rosoleia bit him while he was sleeping. So he goes to her room and wakes her up from her sleep, and asks her if she drank from his blood while he was sleeping. So Rosoleia feels embarrassed of herself, and tells him I did not drink much. So he warns her not to do that again and tells her, if you do that again you might lose control of yourself, and become a danger to humans. Next time when you feel hungry tell me, and I will know how to give you blood in an appropriate amount, so that you do not turn into a bloodthirsty monster. And Leonus encourages her and tells her, get ready now so we can go train you. And immediately they go to the training field in the academy, and Rosoleia tries fighting with her magical sword on the simulators, and when she manages to defeat them Leonus tells her, your level is good much higher than the simulators, let us make it a little harder. And he summons a group of his demon soldiers, and tells her start trying your sword in fighting these. And without hesitation Rosoleia attacks them, and kills them one after another with strong strikes of her sword. And this is something that makes Leonus bring out other soldiers so she can fight them. And after a long time of fighting, Rosoleia kills them all after hardship, and Rosoleia becomes very tired after the fight. So Leonus offers her that they go eat a nice meal, as a reward for her. So Rosoleia tells him I have a nice idea, we will take the food and go eat in a place you will like. And Rosoleia takes him and they go to the orphanage. And as soon as they arrive, all the children there know Rosoleia, and they run to greet her. And she introduces them to Leonus, and tells them that he is a legendary adventurer and he is her trainer. And this is something that makes the children run to him while they are amazed, and ask him to teach them to become adventurers like him, or teach them anything extraordinary, but Rosoleia calls them so they can eat, and after that he will teach them. And at the same time there are two employees in one of the government buildings, but they are surprised by the presence of one of the void monsters in the institution. So they go and submit a report to the government, and immediately they hold an emergency meeting to see a solution to this problem. And Diglas is one of those attending this meeting, and who immediately thinks of Rosoleia's team, and that they might help them in investigating this report. So Diglas proposes that they use them, and she praises their strength and that they are a complete team, especially after Leonus was added to them, the owner of tremendous power, and after negotiation the council agrees to Diglas's proposal. And they contact Senpai, and ask her to use her magical weapon to spread it in the city, and make sure that there is no other void monster except the one they found. And without thinking Senpai accepts the mission, and tells them as soon as she finishes her scouting, she will contact them and tell them the results that she reached. And the government takes advantage of the time of Senpai's scouting, and sends a group of their soldiers to the place where it was reported that the monster is, and they are in contact with them through a video call, and they actually see that the monster is there. But as soon as the soldiers enter the room, the monster wakes up and the video call is cut off, and the support quickly works on restoring the call. And after some time they actually succeed in restoring it, but the soldiers are in the room alone, and they tell them that the monster escaped. And at the same time they find a video call coming from Senpai, and when they answer her she tells them, I did my scouting in the city, and tells them that the monster they were trying to catch escaped, and is heading to the island's power station. And this is something very dangerous because there is energy there sufficient to allow the monsters to carry out a very strong attack on it, and it could destroy the entire island. And because of that they activate the automated defense systems in the entire station, and also send a large number of soldiers there to protect the station. But the monster attacks them, and manages to destroy all the defense lines one after another, and takes control of the station. And at that moment the government declares a state of emergency, and distress missiles are launched from the rest of the islands. And the monster's control over the power station affects the electricity in the entire city. And here we return again to Rosoleia and Leonus in the shelter. And as soon as Leonus notices the power outage, he goes out to see the situation with Rosoleia, and they are surprised by giant void gates in the sky. These gates come out of huge numbers of void monsters of different types, and they find the central tower turning into defense mode, to protect what they can, and the automated defense devices in the entire island come out, to strike the monsters and try to kill as many as possible. And here comes the time for Rosoleia's team to intervene. And Senpai, Regina and Sakuya go to the central tower, and Regina summons her magical weapon, and begins to aim at the flying monsters and hunt them one after another. As for Sakuya, she summons her magical sword, and fights the monsters that are in the form of giant ghouls, and she manages to defeat them very easily. But the numbers of the demons were increasing at a huge rate that they could not stop, to the point that a monster appears in the form of a very huge dragon, bigger than any monster they have seen before, and the automated protection devices try to kill it, but it manages to throw a fireball at them that destroys it easily. And at that time, the shelter is attacked by small dragons, and as soon as they approach the shelter, Rosoleia summons her sword, and attacks them, and cuts off the head of the first, and splits the second into two halves. As for Leonus, he uses fire magic, and burns two of the dragons from a distance while they are flying until they die. But immediately the huge dragon heads towards them, and opens 3 void gates, from which 3 monsters in the form of giant ghouls come out. So Leonus asks Rosoleia to attack the ghouls, until he casts a powerful spell with which he can kill the huge dragon. So Rosoleia listens to him without thinking, and kills them very quickly one after another. And Leonus begins his spell, and creates a very large number of fireballs in the sky, and brings them all down to the ground to burn the dragon. And indeed his strike knocks the dragon to the ground, but does not kill it. And the dragon recovers and strikes Rosoleia with its flames with a strong hit that throws her away and makes her fall to the ground. And at that time Blackus appears and bites the dragon from its neck to distract it. And immediately Leonus casts another spell with gravity magic and manages to crush the dragon with it and finish it off. But they do not get the chance to celebrate their victory, and the ground suddenly splits, and the void monster in the power station extends parts of itself, and binds Rosoleia and pulls her underground. And before she is pulled down, the device from her ear that she uses to communicate with the rest of the team falls. And then the void monster shows its face to Leonus, and tells him, "It has been a long time since the last time we met, Leonus, since the time when I sent my soldiers to kill you." So Leonus understands at that moment that this void monster is Arakle. And immediately Leonus uses his staff and directs a strike at him with fire magic. But he goes down underground with Rosoleia, and when he looks behind him he finds the orphanage children looking at him while they are scared, so he goes to reassure them. But one of them thanks him for protecting them, and asks him to search for the monster, and save Rosoleia and bring her back to them once again, so Leonus reassures them and promises them that he will do that. And before he leaves them and goes, he creates around the house a protective barrier to protect them from any attacks, and summons a group of his demon soldiers to protect the house until he returns. And he goes to Blackus to see how they will reach Rosoleia. But suddenly Leonus hears Senpai's voice, and focuses and finds that it is Rosoleia's device. So Leonus takes it and tells her that the monster kidnapped Rosoleia and took her underground, but he does not know where he took her. So Senpai replies to him and tells him the monster is in the power station under the island. But she warns him not to go there, because the area there is very dangerous, and it is difficult for him to fight in it. An explosion could happen in it that destroys the entire island. But Leonus reassures her and tells her, "I will be able to save Rosoleia and kill the monster, without causing any harm to the city." So Leonus asks Blackus and tells him, "You went to this power station before, right?" So Blackus replies to him, "Yes, I went, and I can get you there easily." And Leonus rides on Blackus, and they penetrate the layers of the island on their way to the power station, until they actually arrive. And Arakle is huge and spread in the station, and as soon as Leonus sees him he smiles and tells him, "The time of revenge has come, Arakle." And Leonus uses fire magic and strikes Arakle with it and burns him, but he has the ability to heal himself, so his strike does not affect him, and he asks Leonus and tells him, "I have killed you twice until now, once when you were a weak human, and once when you were the leader of the demons. How many times should I kill you, so that I do not see you again?" But Leonus mocks him and tells him, "When I kill you now, you will not see me in the world of the dead." And Leonus's response angers Arakle and makes him attack him. But Leonus rides on Blackus and escapes from his strike. And then Leonus jumps and uses his staff, and creates magic that throws sharp daggers at Arakle's limbs, and cuts a large number of them. And Blackus tries to strike him with his magic, but the strike does not affect him. So Leonus says this world reduced our power greatly from our original power. And Arakle creates magical gates above them. These gates launch at them a large amount of magical shards, and Leonus tries to avoid them, but some of them hit him and make him bleed, and when he looks at his hand and finds it full of blood, a brilliant idea comes to his mind, and he searches for Rosoleia's location, and after some searching he finds her bound, so he throws at her communication device while it is full of his blood, and the device pierces into Rosoleia's body, so it supplies her with energy, and makes her gather the power of the vampire, and she frees herself from the monster, and immediately jumps and goes to Leonus. And at that time Arakle feels that he is about to be defeated, so he decides to use a very huge flame spell that will be enough to burn the entire island, and also burn him with them. So Leonus has no choice but to use his last weapon. And he holds his staff and dismantles it and takes out from it the Black Demon King sword, and creates a very powerful spell, and attacks Arakle with the sword and thrusts it into him. And as soon as the sword touches him, Arakle disappears immediately and dies forever. And when Arakle dies, all the void monsters that were drawing their power from him die as well. And the numbers of the monsters in the city begin to decrease on the map until they completely end. And thus one of the lords of the void monsters has died, and the island has returned to being a safe place once again. And after this exhausting battle, Leonus goes to his room and sleeps on his bed while he is very tired. But suddenly he hears the sound of the door knocking, and Rosoleia enters while she is carrying a medal made of flowers and a gift, and tells him this is a gift made by the orphanage children. And at that moment Leonus feels great joy, and tells himself, I did not imagine that the humans that I was returning to the world to kill, I would do all this to defend them. But Rosoleia interrupts his thoughts, and tells him while she is embarrassed, I consumed a large amount of energy in the last battle, and I need some blood to draw my energy again. So Leonus agrees and gives her his finger, so she drinks from it a little. And after she drinks a little he tells her that is enough, now go out and leave me to sleep, because I need energy as well. And at that time, the rest of the islands respond to the distress missile, and a rescue ship is heading to them. And on this ship is Princess Alteria, and she is the princess of all the 7 islands. And while they are on the way, information reaches them that the island they are going to save managed to defeat the monsters on their own without support. And they suggest to the princess that they return again, but she refuses and tells them I must go to the island and reward the adventurers responsible for saving this island myself. And after days, the government begins to rebuild the island once again, and repair everything that was destroyed in the battle, and they use solar panels to supply the city with electricity until they repair the power station, and the city returns to operate normally once again. And Leonus wants to investigate the information that Shari told him, that no one in this world knows his story, so he goes to the library to read in history books, but he finds an automated guard at the library gate, in the form of an owl, that refuses his entry. But luckily Regina comes and helps him enter, and he tells her that he wants to search for a book that has historical information, so she takes him and brings him to a shelf, and tells him this is the history shelf, here you will find everything you are looking for. But while they are standing they both receive a message on their phones. This message is an invitation from Princess Alteria to attend the honoring ceremony that she is holding for them to thank them for their defense of the island. And the ceremony will be on the warship Hyperion. So Leonus tells Regina, this will surely be an enjoyable day. So she replies to him and tells him, enjoy your time, but I will excuse myself and I will not go. So he is surprised and asks her about the reason for her refusal. And she answers him that she has many things she wants to do, so she will not be able to come. And Regina's words make Leonus feel that something is wrong. Because Regina is a cheerful personality and loves joking, what would make her not come to the ceremony? But Leonus takes the books that he needs and goes to the ship, and he is amazed by its huge size, and on his way to enter there is a market at the port. This market has a person selling gifts, so he goes to get a gift for Rosoleia from him, and while he was looking at the displayed gifts, he asks about a bracelet, and the seller tells him that this bracelet is made by one of the demi-humans. And as soon as Leonus hears him he is surprised and asks him, are the demi-humans still alive? So the seller tells him, you do not know that the demi-humans are alive, but they are exiled far from our islands. And while they are talking they find all the people in the market cheering loudly. And this is because Princess Alteria came out and stood on the edge of the ship to greet them. And at the time when Alteria was greeting the crowd, Regina was standing far in a high place and watching her with binoculars without anyone seeing her. And at the time when Leonus is standing watching the princess, he meets the rest of his team, Rosoleia, Senpai and Sakuya. And when he sees them he goes to show Rosoleia the gift that he brought her, an accessory in the shape of a cat. And Rosoleia likes it and thanks him for it. But they are interrupted by Fenris, and she is one of the adventurers in the academy, and she is the leader of the rival team of Rosoleia's team. And because of that she and Rosoleia do not like each other. And after some mocking from Fenris on Rosoleia's team, she leaves them and goes to board the ship. And unfortunately the news of the princess's ceremony spreads, and reaches the exiled demi-humans, and they are planning to go kidnap the princess, and take her as a hostage. And when they do that they will be able to free the demi-humans imprisoned with them. But one of the demi-humans in the form of a lion says that this competition will be very difficult, because the magical weapons are very strong, and only humans can use them. But their plan is interrupted by Sharnak, and she is one of the demi-humans as well, but she can use the black demon swords too. And she offers the rest of the demi-humans that she will give them the power of the black demon swords, which are considered much stronger than human swords, and in return, they will help her in kidnapping the adventurers and the princess at the ceremony. And Sharnak transfers the power to the one in the form of a lion, and he finds that he actually now has a magical sword that he can use. So all the demi-humans agree at that moment to the deal, and the demi-humans begin their plan, and they sneak into the ship, and they manage to kill the guards there, and they use their magic to take the form of these guards, and wait for the right time to attack the people on the ship and execute their plan. At that time Leonus is reading in the books that he took from the library, and notices that all the ancient history is altered or completely deleted, and he tells himself then there must be someone trying to erase history intentionally, and he must search more to know it. And at night, when the attendees are in the hall waiting for the princess, the demi-humans begin to execute their plan, and they remove the disguise magic from themselves, and show their true identity, and order the attendees to gather and hand over all their phones. But Fenris gets angry, and before she takes out her magical weapon immediately, one of the demi-humans makes a bomb in the shape of an apple, and threatens them that if any of them thinks to take out his magical weapon, he will detonate the bomb immediately and kill everyone present. So they listen and hand over all their phones, and communication devices between them, and they gather the attendees in a circle and put the apple in the middle of them. As for the adventurers, they line them up in a row away from the rest of the attendees, and one of the demi-humans in the form of a wolf says that they will take the princess as a hostage with them until the government releases the demi-humans they have from the prisons. As for these adventurers, all of them, they will go to the leader. He asked for them alive and he will deal with them. And as soon as Leonus hears this, he asks Rosoleia that they distract the guards, and indeed Fenris fights with the wolf guard, and Leonus takes advantage of that time and uses his teleportation magic and escapes without anyone noticing and goes to search for the princess. At that time, a group of demi-humans take advantage that the princess is in a corridor in the ship with a small number of guards, and they stab the guards with the sword from their backs, and kill them all and show their true identity to the princess and kidnap the princess. But the princess is carrying a magical animal in the form of a white rabbit. She throws it and orders it to escape. And indeed the rabbit escapes and goes out of the ship until it reaches Regina, and as soon as Regina sees it, she is surprised how the magical animal of the royal family was able to leave the princess, and as soon as she approaches it, she hears the voice of Princess Alteria, while she is saying, "Help me, I am kidnapped." So as soon as she hears this, she is shocked, and decides that she will go to help them. And at that time the ship is about to move away from the port, so Regina carries the magical animal, and starts running towards the ship quickly, and jumps a big jump, and manages to reach the ship's ladder at the last moment. And she enters the ship and tries to search for them. While she is walking corridor by corridor in the ship's passages, she meets Leonus, and as soon as he sees her he is surprised and asks her, "What are you doing here?" So she tells him, "Please help me. My younger sister has been kidnapped." And this is a shock for Leonus, and he asks her, "Who is your younger sister?" So she replies to him, "My real name is Regina Ray Alters, and I am the older sister of Alteria. The story began long ago. As soon as I was born, my luck was bad that I was born on a night in which a red star was shining in the sky, and this in the royal family is considered a sign of bad luck, and any child who is born on that day must be killed immediately. So my father decided to execute me, but the minister convinced him that they deceived the people that they executed me, and give me to one of the adventurers so that he raises me with his daughter, who was also just born, and that girl was Rosoleia. And days pass, and we grow older, and I live with her and become her servant, until we grow up and enter the academy together, and I become the Regina that you know now. All that I wanted from Alteria's visit was to see her from afar at least, and while I was watching the ship, the royal magical animal came to me, and I knew from it that Alteria was kidnapped. So Leonus asks her, "Does anyone else know this story besides me?" So she answers him that she told the whole team. They are the only ones who know. So he tells her, "All right, we will talk about this matter later. The important thing now is that we both go and save Alteria, and the rest of the team will save the guests in the hall." So Regina listens to his words, and they head to the control room to see Alteria there. But when they arrive, they find the room empty. So Leonus asks Regina, "How were you able to hear Alteria's voice from the magical animal?" So she answers him that the royal lineage can use their magic and communicate with each other through that animal. So Leonus asks her to try to communicate with Alteria, since she is her older sister and from the same royal lineage. But Regina hesitates and tells him, "If I do that, Alteria will know that I am still alive, and they might try to kill me again." But Leonus reassures her and tells her, "Surely Alteria will not try to kill you while you are her older sister, and you are risking your life to save her." And his words encourage her, and make her hold the magical animal, and calls Alteria and tells her, "Can you hear me?" So she hears Alteria's voice in her mind telling her, "Who are you?" So she replies to her and tells her I am just a spiritual mage and your animal reached me, and I am trying to save you, and she asks her about the place where she is now. So she replies to her and tells her there are 2 demi-humans kidnapping me, and taking me to the ship's deck. So Regina reassures her and tells her do not worry, I will come to you now and save you, but Alteria tells her since you are a spiritual mage, try to save the ship first, because the ship is driven by spiritual energy, and it is now heading towards a sea full of aquatic void monsters, so try to use its spiritual energy to change the ship's course. So Regina goes to see the ship's radar, and finds that they are about to enter a huge number of water monsters, so Leonus tells her, the plan will be that I will go to the ship's deck and save Alteria, and you will try to change the ship's course. And immediately Leonus breaks the window and jumps to head towards the ship's deck. At that time, the adventurers try to find a way to free themselves from the demi-humans. So Rosoleia asks Senpai that she uses her magical weapon and tries to gather as much information as possible about the bomb that is among the guests. So Senpai uses her magical weapon without anyone noticing and hides it behind one of the chandeliers in the ceiling. And after some time she analyzes the situation and tells Rosoleia that the old demi-human is the one controlling the bomb. He controls it with the staff that he has, which if anything happens with a signal from the staff it will give a signal to the bomb and detonate it among the guests. So Rosoleia asks her, can you use your magic to block the signal between the staff and the bomb? So she replies to her, yes, I can block it. So she tells her then wait for the right time before he comes to use it, immediately block the signal. And the adventurers begin their plan to free themselves, and Fenris starts a fight with the wolf guard. And at the same time they hear the sound of a plate breaking. And when they look they find Sakuya eating from the guests' food. And very calmly she tells them, sorry I dropped the plate by mistake. So the wolf tells her, how did your rope disappear? So she replies to him, I could not eat with it so I cut it. So the wolf gets angry and goes to kill Sakuya, and at that time Fenris intervenes and knocks him to the ground. And immediately Senpai uses her magical weapon, and disables the signal of the staff, and then breaks it into small pieces. And here the battle begins between the adventurers and the demi-humans, and Fenris uses her magical weapon, and creates wolves from crystal and makes them attack them. And Rosoleia frees herself and uses her magical weapon to kill the old demi-human, and the bomb disappears from among the guests, and each of them takes his phone or communication device. But unfortunately Regina has not managed to change the ship's course, and a group of aquatic void monsters manage to climb onto the ship and storm the guests' hall. So Rosoleia tells them, you fight the monsters, and I will go search for Leonus. And when she leaves them, Sakuya manages to kill the monsters one after another with her magical sword, and Fenris summons crystal wolves and makes them attack the monsters. But when they finish the monsters present, a void gate opens, and from it comes out a monster called the Mind Eater. And this is a very high-level monster, and when Fenris tries to use the crystal wolves against it, it manages to break them very easily. And at that moment Sakuya asks Fenris and Senpai that they leave, and let her fight this monster alone. And after a long time of fighting, Sakuya manages to kill it, and cut it into small pieces. But at the same time the guests are attacked by some void monsters, and they were about to kill them. But at that moment Shari intervenes, and manages to kill them, and cut them in the blink of an eye, and uses teleportation magic to disappear before anyone sees her. As for Rosoleia, while she was searching for Leonus, she meets Regina while she is fighting 2 of the void monsters, so she uses her magical sword, and kills both of them, and here Regina asks her to protect her, until she uses her spiritual energy and changes the ship's course away from the aquatic void monsters, and indeed Regina performs spells that make her emit energy, and after that she manages to control the ship and changes its course and makes it return towards the port once again, and she also manages to control the automated defense devices that are in the ship. And on the other side, Sharnak grabs Alteria and pulls her towards a plane standing on the ship's deck, and they both board the plane. But when it comes to takeoff, Sharnak is surprised that there is a force pulling the plane down, and when she looks beside her she finds that her demi-human assistants have all been killed by fire magic, and she is surprised by Leonus standing in front of her, after he used shadow magic to disable the plane. So Sharnak gets down from the plane, and goes to Leonus and asks him, who are you? So he replies to her, I am Leonus, the Demon King. But she mocks him and tells him, you are just a child, and strikes him with fire magic, but he makes a spell and blocks her strike with it. And here she is shocked and tells him this spell is indeed one of the Demon King's spells. So Leonus uses shadow magic and binds her, and tells her, because I am the Demon King, and now I want to know from you, why were you trying to kidnap the adventurers? So she tells him, because the adventurers, the world lord, will control their minds, and make them create for him the strongest demon sword, and that will be his weapon. So Leonus asks her, and who is this world lord? But before she answers him, she is assassinated and stabbed with a demon sword that is embedded in her back and pierces her entire body. And then Sharnak turns into a void monster in the form of a giant spider and summons more void monsters to attack Leonus. And the spider uses teleportation magic to attack Leonus suddenly, but Leonus manages to avoid its strike, and when he looks behind him he finds one of the void monsters attacking Alteria, so he uses fire magic to kill it. But Regina intervenes and uses the automated defense devices to help Leonus, and begins to strike the giant spider and the monsters with it, and then she drains the swimming pool, and reveals under it a missile base, and fires one of them at the giant spider, but it does not kill it, so she fires another missile. But this time Rosoleia is riding on it, and lands on the ship's deck with Leonus. And Rosoleia attacks the small void monsters and manages to kill them, and Leonus uses the Black Demon King's sword, and as soon as he strikes the giant spider with it, he kills it and makes it disappear in the blink of an eye. And on the next day, the ship returns to the island's dock once again, and Alteria thanks the four, Fenris, Rosoleia, Senpai and Sakuya, and tells them without you I would have died, and all the guests would have died, and she asks them about Leonus and tells them, there was a small child, he was the one who managed to save me from the demi-humans on the ship's deck. So Rosoleia answers her, and tells her yes his name is Leonus. But he was very tired so he went home to rest, so she asks them to deliver her thanks to him. And she asks them about the spiritual mage, who was communicating with her through her magical animal. So Rosoleia understands that she means Regina, but she tells her we do not have any mage in our team, surely she is someone from outside the team. And on the other side, Leonus is sleeping on his bed while he is feeling pain in his whole body, and Regina enters to him while she is bringing him a bag with the food that he likes, and thanks him for helping her and saving her sister. But Leonus tells her if you really want to thank me, then you must let me sleep for a while. And after days, a group of demi-humans tries to rebel, and they manage to escape from their cell. But in one of the corridors the guards catch them, and before they capture them a curse happens to them, and they all freeze in their place, as if they turned into statues. And Leonus appears in a form close to his old Demon King form, with a skeletal face without skin, and his appearance terrifies the demi-humans present, and they ask him, who are you? So he tells them I am the Demon King, and now you have two choices, either I bring the guards back to life again and make them kill you, or you become soldiers in my army. So one of them replies to him and tells him we agree. So Leonus opens for them a gate and orders them to enter it, and tells them from today this will be the place where you live. And when I need you I will summon you to this world again. And he tells himself this way, I will have helped the humans by getting rid of them and strengthen my army, because I still have a goal which is to find Rosoleia and conquer the world together once again. And at that time Rosoleia wakes up from sleep and searches for Leonus, and as soon as she enters his room, she finds Shari cleaning it. So she thinks that she is not seeing well and rubs her eyes, and as soon as she opens her eyes again, she has disappeared. So she goes out of the room and calls him to see where he is, but he does not answer her. And he uses teleportation magic and appears in his room, and takes off the Demon King form, and returns to Leonus the child form once again, and after that he goes so that they have breakfast together. And while they are sitting at breakfast, Rosoleia asks him where were you today, so he tells her it has been a long time since we went on missions. So I was using my time in training, so she tells him then what if I tell you that we got a new mission, so he asks her what mission, and she answers him we are required to face Fenris's team, in front of many spectators, and the winner among us, the government will use him in a dangerous mission, but they did not say the nature of the mission, nor any information about it. And while they are talking their talk is interrupted by a crow making a loud sound at the window. So Regina tells them, our house has many crows around it now, and because of that rumors have spread in the academy, that our house is haunted. And this is not only because of the crows, there is also a giant black dog that appears around the house at times, and circles the house as if it is protecting it, and other people say that they see a ghost in the form of a girl. So Rosoleia interrupts her and tells her, a girl wearing a maid outfit. So Regina replies to her yes exactly. So she tells her, I just saw her today and she was cleaning Leonus's room, but she disappeared suddenly and I said I must be imagining. So Leonus tells her yes this is surely illusions not real, and he tells himself I must tell Shari to be more careful than that. And after hours they go to the arena of the confrontation with Fenris's team, and the confrontation between them begins, in front of many people from the government, and from the public audience, and Rosoleia goes with Leonus so that they do a maneuver on Fenris. But she finds them and ruins their plan, and Fenris uses her magical weapon, and summons crystal wolves, and makes them attack her, but Rosoleia manages to kill them, but one of them injures her in her leg, and immediately Fenris uses her magical weapon and makes fists in her hands, in the form of wolves, and goes to strike Rosoleia, but she blocks her strike. So Fenris grabs Rosoleia's sword, and pushes her and makes her be thrown far away, and fixes her on the tree that she was thrown on with crystal, And when one of Fenris's team tries to kill Rosoleia with arrows, Leonus intervenes, and uses shadow magic, and binds her and makes her lose consciousness. And at that time Rosoleia gets very angry, and summons a large amount of energy, and breaks the crystal, and attacks Fenris with the sword and defeats her, and thus Rosoleia's team wins, and all the audience cheers for them. And at night, they go to the central command tower, and meet with Diglas, so that she tells them the mission required from them, and tells them that one of the old islands, that was destroyed by the void monsters, we received a distress signal from it, and because of that we need to send you there to explore, and see who sent this signal. And when Rosoleia sees the island on the screen, she tells her, but this is the island where I was raised when I was young, and my parents died while defending it. So Diglas replies to her, yes, and because of that we nominated your team to go, because you and Regina were raised there, and know the place, and this distress signal means that there are survivors there. Why not they could be some of your family? And without thinking, Rosoleia accepts the mission, and the government prepares a plane for them, to take them and transport them to the city quickly, and before they board, Leonus summons Blackus and Shari without anyone seeing him, and asks Blackus to stay in the island here, and protect them in case they are exposed to any attack. As for Shari, he tells her that she will come with him, so that she helps him there if he needs her. And after that they begin their journey towards the city, and on their way Leonus feels tired, and sleeps on Rosoleia's lap, so he dreams of a day from 1,000 years ago, when he was sitting with Rosoleia, and she was the one sleeping on his lap, and tells him that when she disappears and returns after 1,000 years, she might appear in the form of any creature, and asks him not to hate her no matter what form she reincarnates into. But he reassures her and tells her, I will surely not hate you, and I will search for you everywhere until I find you, and we become a team again, and you return to your era once again. But she tells him, know that no matter what creature I reincarnate into, I will never fight you, and she confirms to him to remember this sentence. And when Leonus wakes up, as soon as he opens his eyes he sees Rosoleia in front of him, and at that moment he feels a strange feeling towards her. But at that time Regina calls them, and tells them, look, we have arrived at the island, and the plane lands on the island. And as soon as they get down they decide to split up, and Rosoleia tells them, I will go me and Leonus to search in the eastern part, and you will search in the western part. And Senpai uses her magical weapon, and without anyone noticing Leonus summons Shari, and gives her an order to go with the team that is going to the western part, so that she protects them if they are exposed to any attack. And while Leonus was exploring the eastern part, Rosoleia's device picks up a signal of a nearby void monster, and immediately they are attacked. Leonus manages to avoid it. As for Rosoleia, she falls to the ground, and a huge pillar falls on her and breaks her leg. A giant monster appears for the first time that Leonus has ever seen, and the monster tries to strike Rosoleia. But Leonus uses teleportation magic and moves her to an underground corridor away from the fight, and Leonus uses gravity magic to knock the monster to the ground, and before it stands up again he uses fire magic and burns it. And he runs and goes to Rosoleia to check on her, and tells her, do not try to move the fracture. You will be able to heal it with the power of the vampire, but you will need some time. And suddenly they find a blue glow appearing behind them, and when they look they find them the souls of the island soldiers who died years ago here, and they go to Rosoleia, and one of them tells her, we were your father's soldiers, and we are the ones who launched the distress missile, but not so that you save us, but to warn you. So Rosoleia asks him, warn us about what? So he tells her there is an evil person, who has the abilities of magical weapons, sitting making black demon swords, and using them to take energy from them, in order to awaken the World Lord. And the World Lord is in the island's power station, drawing energy from it as well. And if the World Lord wakes up this will be the end, because he will kill all humans. So Leonus remembers Sharnak's words, when she was trying to kidnap the adventurers to do that. So Leonus says we need to move Rosoleia to a place where she can heal, and I will search for the person you are talking about. So they bring the ghost vehicle of Rosoleia's father, and they tell him we will go up to their old house. And the vehicle is very slow, so Leonus summons 2 demon horses, and makes them pull the vehicle so it becomes faster. And when they ride the vehicle, Rosoleia takes advantage that they are alone, and asks Leonus to let her drink some of his blood, so that she can heal the injury of her leg. And as soon as Leonus agrees, Rosoleia jumps on him and pulls a large amount of blood from him. So Leonus feels that he is starting to get dizzy, and tells her that is enough, but she is confused and not hearing him, so he uses his power as the Demon King, and controls her and pushes her away from him. So Rosoleia apologizes to him and tells him, I am sorry, but I lost control of myself. So Leonus summons a red dress, and tells her this is the dress of the Vampire Queen, a dress made entirely of blood, and the dress moves toward Rosoleia as if it is absorbing into her, and Leonus continues his words and tells her, this dress multiplies your power 1,000 times, but it consumes a large amount of your energy. Use it only in emergency situations. So she asks him, and how do I use it? So he tells her simply imagine that you are wearing it. And he takes out strange medallions in the shape of skeletons, and tells her keep them with you. So she asks him what do they do, but Leonus tells her when you need them they will work, and you will know at that time. And on the other side of the land, the rest of the team are exploring, and on their way they meet a strange girl, from the demi-humans. So Regina approaches this girl, and tells her are you the one who launched the distress missile? So the girl suddenly takes out a sword and attacks her with it, but Regina avoids her attack, and Sakuya tells them go back. This one seems skilled in using the sword, and Sakuya and the girl fight together, and their power is very close, but after a fight Sakuya wins, but she does not kill her, and tells her you are injured in your back with a big wound, and you need treatment. We can treat you, and you talk to us and tell us who you are. And Regina takes out her first aid tools, and begins to treat her, and at that time Senpai interrogates her, and tells her alright now can you tell us who exactly you are? So she replies to her and tells her I am Aruli, a time traveler. My time is from more than 1,000 years, but I came here on a specific mission, which is to kill the world lord. So Senpai asks her, and why did you attack us earlier when you saw us? So she replies to her and tells her, when I first came to this world, I met a servant of the demons from my time, and he told me that he is here a servant of the world lord. And I will not let you do what you came for. And I tried to kill him but he was very fast. And then he summoned a giant monster and made me face it. And after a long fight I managed to defeat it. But I was injured with the injury that you are treating me from now. And when I saw you I thought that you are his assistants. So that is why I attacked you. And she thanks them for helping her and tells them now I will continue my path so that I accomplish the mission that I am here for. But before she leaves Sakuya tells her you can stay and rest a little because your injury is strong, and eat so that you have energy to carry out your mission. And after that we will go with you and help you in your mission as well. But she refuses at first and tells them I will do it alone, and after some persuasion she agrees and stays with them. And at that time Shari is watching them, and she manages to recognize Aruli, and remembers that she was training with Leonus when he was still human, in sword fighting, and because of that she has high skills, and she can also summon black magical swords. And in the east of the city Leonus and Rosoleia arrive at her old house, and as soon as Rosoleia gets down from the vehicle, she begins to recall her memories with her family in the house, and remembers their garden, when her father was training her in it on sword fighting, and Leonus leaves her to walk in the house freely and recall her memories, but the house is almost destroyed, and when she goes up to her father's room it is completely broken from the war, and she finds in his desk, a historical book. As soon as she holds it, she remembers many events, and sees them as if they are happening in front of her, and remembers when her father was taking this book, and telling her the story of the demon king in it, and she remembers the story of the hero who was betrayed by the 6 heroes, and they killed him while he was defending them, but he manages to turn into the demon king, and makes a huge army, and a huge castle, and manages to rule the world for a long time, and becomes one of the greatest enemies of humans, until the 6 heroes come and kill him, and he disappears for 1,000 years, and then returns to the world again, but this time he is on the side of humans, and saves them and manages to kill all the void monsters in the world, and the land returns to be a safe place again, and at that moment she realizes that Leonus is the hero that her father was always telling her about. But Rosoleia is interrupted by Nephix the demon servant, and he appears in front of her suddenly. So she asks him are you one of the survivors in the war? So he tells her no I am the person that you are searching for, so that you kill him before he awakens the world lord, and he uses very powerful fire magic, and strikes her with it, and Leonus hears the sound of Rosoleia's scream, so he rushes quickly to see her. And he comes up and Leonus strikes Nephix with fire magic and burns him, and asks Rosoleia are you okay? So she replies to him yes, and she is surprised by 3 skeletal warriors standing in front of her, and asks Leonus who are these? So he tells her these are the guardians of the medallions that I gave you. They appear to defend you when you are in danger, and they are among the strongest demon knights, and they are the ones who saved you from his strike a while ago. But unfortunately Nephix stands up once again and tells Leonus, do you think you can kill me with weak magic like this? And Leonus is shocked how he did not die after that strike, and Nephix creates a powerful spell, and strikes Leonus with fire magic, and Leonus responds with ice magic, and blocks his strike, and suddenly they feel a huge earthquake, and here Nephix laughs, and tells Leonus now the world lord has awakened, and opens a void gate and bids Leonus farewell, and tells him, you will die at the hands of the world lord, and disappears into the gate. So Leonus thinks and remembers Nephix, and tells Rosoleia he is from my time. It might be that the world lord he is talking about is Rosoleia. And suddenly a glow shines from the ground, and the world lord emerges from the ground, and he is a very huge creature, and he can open many void gates, and fills the land with void monsters. And when the void monsters attack them, they find that every time they hit them they heal themselves instantly. But when Leonus tries to strike one of them with flame magic in its head, he finds it disappeared. So he tells them all aim for the head. If you destroy their heads, they will die. And indeed they do that, and Rosoleia and the demon knights manage to kill a group of monsters. But the World Lord brings out more monsters from the void gates, and at that time he asks Rosoleia to protect him, until he casts a spell on the World Lord. And he summons his strongest fire spell, and strikes the World Lord with it. But he is shocked when he finds the World Lord absorbing the fire, and it does not affect him at all. But Leonus's strike angers the World Lord, and makes him create huge magical gates, and strikes them with massive amounts of fireballs, and at that time immediately Leonus creates a protective barrier around them, and blocks all these fireballs. And after that Leonus orders the demon knights and Rosoleia to kill as many demons as they can, and he jumps towards the World Lord, and takes out the Black Demon King sword. But when he tries to strike the World Lord with it, he finds a force preventing him from using it. And Leonus suddenly hears Rosoleia's voice telling him, "Are you planning to kill me with the sword that I originally gave you?" And as soon as he hears her voice, he is shocked and realizes that Rosoleia has appeared in this time in the form of the World Lord monster. And this is a shock for Leonus, and makes him lose his ability to move at all, and thinks how Rosoleia's fate is that she became a monster. And the World Lord takes advantage of Leonus's distraction, and strikes him with a large number of swords. One of them pierces his chest, and knocks him to the ground and kills him. And here Rosoleia gets extremely angry, to the point that she summons the red dress that multiplies her power 1,000 times, and uses her sword magic, and strikes the World Lord with a very powerful strike, to the point that she knocks him to the ground, and orders the demon knights to continue killing the void monsters, and quickly goes to Leonus. And she carries Leonus, and uses her magical power to transfer her blood to him, and her blood as a vampire helps Leonus to heal himself, and he returns to life once again. And as soon as Leonus wakes up, he stands up from his place, and his shock about Rosoleia increases even more, that she actually killed him. But he remembers the last sentence she told him, when she said to him, "No matter how I change, I will never try to hurt you." And he becomes certain that this monster is not Rosoleia and is trying to deceive him. And at that moment the souls of the soldiers come to Leonus, and tell him, "Can you use the energy of our souls to increase your power?" So he replies to them, and tells them, "Yes, I can." And Leonus looks around him, and finds the place full of blue soul orbs filled with energy. So Leonus tells them, "I will use the energy of the soul orbs. As for you, I will give you another mission." And he brings out for them skeletal bodies, and makes their souls inhabit these bodies, and creates a red energy orb, and this orb begins to absorb the energy of the small red soul orbs, and he asks Rosoleia to protect him, because his absorption of the souls will take a long time. So Rosoleia listens to his words, and uses her magic and summons weapons for the rest of the soldiers, and leads the army that her father was the leader of one day, and they manage to kill the void monsters one after another. But the World Lord stands up once again after Rosoleia's strike to him, and Leonus is still gathering the energy of the souls, and the World Lord opens huge magical gates, and strikes them with many giant fireballs to annihilate them all at once. But Rosoleia creates protective spheres around all her soldiers and carries Leonus, and creates a protective sphere around him, and flies with him. So the World Lord lifts a huge building and throws it at them, but Rosoleia manages with one strike of her sword to turn it all into fragments. And Leonus at that time has already gathered his energy from the souls, and when he takes out his black sword to strike him with it, the World Lord creates a spell that protects him with a huge protective barrier to prevent the power of the black sword. And at that moment Arakle appears riding a motorcycle with the rest of Rosoleia's team, and here comes Arakle's role for which she came to this world, and she strikes the World Lord with her sword with a powerful strike that destroys the protective barrier that he made around himself. And at that moment Leonus takes advantage of the opportunity, and strikes him with his black sword after he lost the protective barrier, and the strike is very powerful, and creates a huge glow, and Leonus manages to defeat the World Lord and make him disappear. And at that moment the souls of the soldiers come out, and say goodbye to Rosoleia, and tell her we have now fulfilled our mission, and Leonus returns his demon soldiers to their worlds once again, and gathers Rosoleia's team once again, and Sakuya is carrying Arakle after she fainted in the battle. And as soon as Leonus sees her, he remembers her, when she was with him in training in the past. And after moments many support planes arrive to them, and they board one of them, so that they return to their island once again. And while they are on the way, Rosoleia gives him the book that was in her father's office, and tells him, "This is the Demon King book that you were searching for. My father used to tell me your story always when I was young, but your story is recorded in history as a fictional story." So he tells her it is normal because my story is hard to believe. And after days, Leonus summons his assistants, Blackus and Shari, and tells them that he is suspicious about something, that Rosoleia might be Rosoleia for several reasons. The first one is the similarity of the names between them. The second reason is that Rosoleia disappeared from the world in the past, and after that 15 years my kingdom collapsed, and I froze my soul for 1,000 years, and in the present time Rosoleia was born, and after 15 years my soul returned to the world again, meaning Rosoleia's soul froze for 1,000 years, and then incarnated in Rosoleia's body, and the last thing is that the basement that I was in is a cursed basement, and no one can enter it easily, unlike Rosoleia, who was able to enter it just by touching the door. All these reasons say that Rosoleia has incarnated in the form of Rosoleia in the present time. So Shari replies to him and tells him, Arakle after the government arrested her, and took her weapon from her, because she is a demi-human, managed to escape from them, and steal her weapon, and she is now moving on the island. I think if you catch her she will be able to help you to know Rosoleia's location. So Leonus is convinced, and tells them then our plan now is to find Arakle, and then we will confirm the validity of my theory and know Rosoleia's location.